Hello, and welcome to this special CBTV interview with John Evans, president of Evans Advisory Services in Erie, Pennsylvania. John is a certified financial planner who since 1993 has specialized in working with retirees and pre-retirees. In addition, he is a certified public accountant and chartered retirement planning counselor. John, welcome back to CBTV.
Well, thanks, Matt. Glad to be here.
Good to have you back again. I want to talk in this section about qualified plan rollovers. As you well know, many Americans today have a company-sponsored retirement plan. It could be a pension where they get a lump sum distribution upon retirement, or a 401k, 403b. But for those people who are retiring, what are some options they have with that particular account of theirs with their current employer?
Well, obviously they have the opportunity to leave it there if they wish. That's not something that I generally recommend if they have other options there, but that certainly is an option. The other option is to roll it into an IRA, which they, along with my assistants, can manage themselves.
Okay, so the path is pretty clear. Once they retire, they can keep that 401k or 403b with the current employer, or they can roll it over into what you said, an IRA, individual retirement account,
right,
in their name. All right, so the next question then is, do you recommend that people leave it in their account with their employer or roll it over? And if so, why?
Well, first of all, you should know that if you leave it with the current employer, there are in many cases fees associated with that account on an ongoing basis. Whereas if you roll it to an IRA, there may not be any fees involved depending on how it's invested. And some employers actually charge a penalty to roll it over to an IRA if you choose to do that after a certain period of time. So timeliness is pretty important. Second of all, I'm a great fan of controlling your own destiny. When money's sitting in a 401k plan with the previous employer, you don't control who the plan administrator is. You don't control the investment choices. So the company can choose a different administrator, can limit investment choices, and you're pretty much stuck in that environment. You roll it over into an IRA, you're in control. Third, the range of investment options for IRAs are vastly broader than those for 401ks and 403bs. So in terms of the different possible investments, both risk and safe, it's not even close.
So with more options out there in the marketplace and potentially lower fees and more control, I would imagine that the majority, if not all of your clients, roll it over at retirement. Is that correct?
We do that a lot. We do that a lot, although I see a lot of people who've retired 5, 6, 10 years before, and their money's still sitting in the company 401k, and they've been very disappointed with the performance, but they didn't know what else to do. So that brings them to my door, and then we can help them to roll it over and go from there.
So if they did happen to wait 5 or 6 or 10 years, they still can roll it over at that time, but there may be, you said, a fee, but they still can roll it over?
Yes, there's no limit to to when the rollover can occur, but there may be fees associated with doing it if you don't do it within a certain period of separation of service.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Now, let me follow that question up with the next one. Is do people have to wait until they retire to roll over all or a part of their 401k, or can they still roll it over or part of it if they're still employed?
Well, prior to 2006, the answer was they had to wait. Prior to 2006, the tax laws said that you couldn't roll money from a qualified plan to an IRA until there was a qualifying event, and separation of service was that. But in 2006, Congress and the IRS changed the rules to allow companies the flexibility to permit employees to roll their money earlier than that. It's called an in-service rollover, and it's done increasingly frequently by people while they're still employed. They have to check and see if their company plan permits that, because it's specific to their particular 403b, 401k plan. But it's becoming increasingly popular because people want the control, want to be able to do this on their own.
Yeah, I'll bet if with the new rule and the new law coming in just 2006, that most employees have no idea that they can do an in-service rollover.
Right. I've handled dozens and dozens of cases like that where I say, go back and talk to your human resources department or call the plan administrator. What's interesting is when they call the plan administrator and find out that they can do this, they invariably say, well, why haven't I been told this? and the plan administrator in many cases kind of shrugs their shoulders, so to speak, because they really don't want to lose control of the money. The plan administrators make money managing this money, and so they really don't want people to roll their money out, even though that's probably the best thing for the individual.
Kind of like a conflict of interest there.
It's exactly what it is.
But it's a benefit for the employee to have the flexibility to roll it over if they can. And it sounds like in most cases that's a very good idea.
Well, probably the biggest shortcoming in IRA, in 401ks, excuse me, in 403b plans, et cetera, is the lack of safe money alternatives. There are plenty of risk alternatives because most plan administrators are in the business of risk investing. You know, the Vanguards and Fidelities and others of the world are in that part of life, whereas the individual might want to have more of their money safe as they're getting close to retirement.
Correct.
And that option isn't available in most of those plans, but it is in IRAs.
Yeah, good point. Very, very good point. And I guess a big caution is to be sure that employees don't have the majority of their retirement account in company stock.
Ooh.
We never know when an Enron might happen around the corner, right?
It happens all too frequently.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens occasionally, although fortunately not very often, is particularly in smaller companies, sometimes the 401k money finds its way into somebody's pocket inappropriately. And all at once the employee's ready to retire and the 401k money's gone. And that doesn't happen with larger companies, but occasionally happens in smaller ones.
Well, we've all heard of smaller companies that went bankrupt, or the owner or president took off with the money to Bermuda or wherever, and there's nothing left.
That's right. It happens, and it's just another reason why I think moving it into an account that you control is a much better idea.
Yes, it certainly sounds like it. Now, retirement accounts like these in traditional IRAs that haven't been taxed yet can become what we like to call a tax time bomb, where when it goes to the next generation, it can be fully taxable. So how do you help your clients to reduce or even eliminate taxes for themselves personally, perhaps, when they're taking money out of their qualified account, and then also when it goes to their beneficiaries?
Well, certainly the Roth IRA idea is an important step in that regard, because Roth IRAs don't have tax on withdrawals later. So to the extent that people are thinking of putting money into an IRA, whether it's a rollover or fresh contributions, the Roth concept is certainly one way to do that. A second idea is using the provisions in the Internal Revenue Code that deal with non-spousal beneficiaries. And really that sets up the whole issue of the stretch IRA, permitting people to stretch benefits over their lifetime. I have a couple dozen clients that are receiving benefits from IRAs they inherited from their parents that are stretching over their lifetimes. Wow. And the taxes paid are substantially lower than the lump sum distribution would have caused. And third, of course, are life insurance trusts. That's been historically a very popular idea for passing money on to generations, income tax-free, federal estate tax-free, and state estate or inheritance tax-free. So it's a tremendous program. It's been around since the beginning of the code, but it's still a very popular way of passing money along.
So three great ideas. The Roth IRA, distributions coming out of it for the owner are tax-free. Stretch IRA, leaving it as a legacy, you might say, to children and grandchildren that last throughout their entire lifetime. And then the good old life insurance trust.
Those are three pretty solid ideas.
A good reason to work with somebody who is not only a CFP, but a certified public accountant, CPA as well.
That's it. That's it. Well, knowing the tax code is an important part of financial planning.
Absolutely. No, John, great to have you back on CBTV, and we'll look forward to the next interview.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
You know it. For more information about John Evans and his financial services practice, Evans Advisory Services, contact him at 814-464-0224 or visit him on the web at www.evansadvisoryservices.net.